So we will pick up this broom. So here I clicked R, which is the button to be able to store the item inside this box. I'm going to show you how using an interface that would allow us to validate the item type that we're gonna put inside the chest. So to be able to do that, as you can see here, what we have is we have a validator can store item. This function, what it is doing is that it checks if the attribute of this class it has accept all types, we return true. So which means that we can store this item, and we get the item count and see if the items inside this chest isn't more than the max capacity of it, and if the weight of the item is actually greater than max weight of the chest, what can it of the predefined max weight inside this class. And lastly, we have that we're checking here that if the item type is equal to allowed type, so we can return true or false based on that. So we have multiple conditions that we have inside this can store item, and if we have like a really complex game, we're gonna have even more conditions. And we have also here get rejection reason, which is also not very clean that we have too many responsibilities for this class. So what we need to do is that we need to extract everything from here, and we need to use dependency injection. So what dependency injection is that we are inserting something inside this class. It's like we are inserting another class into this class, which is an object of that class. So I have created an interface called item validator, item validator. It has a function that returns a boolean to check if we can store this item, and a string to why we can't store this item if we couldn't. And I have a type validator that implements that interface. And what it has an item type. So it has an item type, which is an enum. In the can store function, we are getting the item and then we're checking. So we're sending the item parameter to the can store, and we are returning that the item is not null first. If it's not null, then we go to the next condition. We're gonna check if the item type is equal to item type. If the item type that we passed is equal to the item type that is stored in this class. And the rejection reason is easy, just returning a string that the item does not belong here. We can customize it. Okay, so if we have that setup, that old setup, what we need to do is that every time we have to manually inject or manually assign a value to each attribute of that class. So if we have this one, we can just set it to weapon as an example, or junk, and we have to assign the chest dot. We can even assign the max capacity to maybe 20, and the max weight and blue chest would accept all types. So as you can see here, it becomes really bloated, like in the setup. If we have a manager for all those chests, it becomes really bloated, and we need to do something else. We need to do something more sophisticated and more extendable. So if we extend our game, we don't have to worry about each class having more and more attributes and more validation. And that's why we have the validator. So instead of doing all this, we can delete all those. We can delete all the validation attributes, and we can focus on just using the validator that we have. As you can see here, we have the item validator instance, and we have the setter for it. So we have a setter here, and each validator will have certain store check. We can remove here also get rejection reason. We don't need it. We can just validator.get rejection reason item. We can call it directly here inside, but let's just keep it this way for now. And inside the manager for our tutorial, we have this manager, and this manager is going to we're initializing a type validator of item type junk. So we have this type validator. We have it's checking if the item type is equal to the item type that we have stored in this class, and we're injecting it inside the chest. And the chest is the basic chest that we were talking about before, and that's how we are injecting the validator inside this class through this setter. And obviously we can even add the weight inside each. Obviously, if you wanna have multiple validators, we can either add a list, and if we want multiple validators, we can either have a can store item. We can have a list of validators that we can set instead of one. Like here, we set a list of validators, and then we can loop through them and check for each condition it has inside it, and that's how we can see if we can actually store the item. Or we can declare just another validator here, and we can call it just maybe weight validator, and we can revert back to the old one. Just for demonstration, I did that. We can here say type validator, and as you can see, we can have that, but that would also require us to modify this class most of the time if we're gonna extend our application. But if we had a list, we don't really need to worry about like adding here any validator. We can just inject more validators from the tutorial manager here. We can just set more validator if we have a list of validator. I think you get the point. And now, as you can see, we have different different validator for each type of chest. We have different types, one for weapon, one for junk, one for treasure, and we can just check it inside here and we can see how it works. So we will pick up this broom. Let me just do it like that. We picked it up and we can check what type it is. We're gonna have to do that through here. We can see it's weapon and this box is. We see here it accepts weapons, so it should be added here because the broom is basically a weapon. So here I clicked R, which is the button to be able to store the item inside this box. So as you can see in the logs and in the screen, it says screen chest treasure rejected, item does not belong here. And here it also shouldn't belong because it's junk. It accepts junk type of item, but here it should be added. And as you can see, it was added, but doesn't look great, I know. Anyway, let's pick this one, and we also need to check its type. It's junk, so it should be added in this empty, this weird box. We go here, we can add it. It's not gonna be added. We can add it here. You can see it added. And yeah, and this one is also junk. It will be added here. And yeah, that was the demo of my class implementation. I will also try to improve it. It's not, this is only a small part of it that I talked about today. The part of validators only. It could be improved with much more things, much more OOP design pattern. And yeah, this is how we inject a validator inside our class. So we don't need to have a lot of if statements inside our class. We can just set up that work to something else, to other class. And that's how dependency injection works. We have a validator that does it for us. It's much cleaner and it doesn't require us to add a lot of if statements and if blocks and a lot of bloated code. It also can be improved more and it can make our code cleaner if we also remove this one and add it there inside the interface. That is just a small example that you can see to understand how dependency injection works.